Welcome into the first episode of Rip N Riff for the year 2024, folks. Here we are. New year, same Rip N Riff, same guys doing it. Mr. Jared Moore, I'm Adam Bernard at Pucking Thoughts. And yeah, good to be here kicking off, we'll call it year number 2 of R&R with Mr. Jared Moore.
Yeah, excited to start the new year off the same way we finished off the last year, which was ripping up a bunch of packs of cards and in my case, making fun of a lot of the people who we pull out of the set pack.
So we do record these about a week or so out, and yeah, the timing of a guy on the front of the pack of the cards that Jared's opening today will be fun to bust his chops. And speaking of, also I noticed that we were both air drumming to the open, which was great. Before we come on,
I was wondering if you could see that because I obviously can't see you when we're doing that, and I'm like hitting like the fake symbol and like.
Yeah, I had to comment on that, but yes, we were both doing that.
All right, I got to keep in mind that you can see me.
Anyway, yeah, so we'll make fun of Russell Wilson later because he's on the back of cards Jared's opening. But Jared and I are also, for the second year in a row, facing off in our mutual Dynasty Leagues championship. He got the better of me last year. This year, we'll see. I mean, Jared is undefeated. He was the leading point getter in the league. I mean, it's clear that he was the best team, but you can make the argument that I was probably the second best team throughout as well. So top 2 teams, and hopefully I can check the box on my 6th attempt. I'm 0 for 5 in the last 5 finals. Let's hope 6 is the magic number. Come on, Wade Redden.
Oh boy. I mean,
come on, Mark Sanchez.
I'm trying to think if there's ever been like a team that's gotten like, has there ever been a professional sports team that's gotten 6 consecutive championships and not won?
No, I mean the
Bills are famous for going to 4 straight Super Bowls, but like,
I mean, maybe there was a hockey team that did it like 5 that I'm not thinking of back in the original 6 era. Because usually,
when Montreal was winning all those cups, yeah, but like anything before like 1970 doesn't count in hockey. So
no, and I don't think basketball either. But you had anybody that like had like that many attempts and didn't get through. Baseball, I mean, the Braves in the 90s until they won in 95 over the Indians, they were kind of that team.
But even the Braves didn't get to like 5 consecutive World Series before they finally won one.
Yeah.
Like they got to a couple. I think they got to the one in 91, I want to say.
They lost to the Twins in 91, the Blue Jays in 92. Then the Phillies won. Then it was the strike. Yeah, the Phillies won the NL. The Blue Jays won in 93.
And the Braves won it in 95. And then they lost in 96 and 99 to the Yankees.
Yeah. In 97, the Marlins were the NL team. 98, the Padres were.
Right. So
there's your baseball lesson. Here we are on R&R. We get things rolling here. So what are we ripping today? So we already talked about Russell Wilson. So why don't you show yours?
Yeah, I may as well just show the pack now and the suspense. So we're gonna do a 2022 Panini Absolute Football pack. 20 cards per pack. It's just one of those value packs that you pick up in the store. And who else will be on the cover? But let's ride.
Let's ride indeed. Let's ride all the way to the bench so Jared Stidham can get his chance there in Denver with the Broncos officially eliminated from playoff contention on the date we recorded this. And yeah, you can see the pack there. I mean, that Russell Wilson experiment. I mean, if you're the Seahawks, just the ransom you got for Russell Wilson. Yeah, after you had gotten all the good you could get out of Russell Wilson, you convinced Denver take whatever's left of his career.
Right, and on top of that, the contract, which I believe that like I was reading, I forget I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Ari Mairov. He does stuff for the 33rd team, the NFL insider guy. He said that the Russell Wilson extension hadn't even kicked in yet. Like this last 2 years was still part of his original deal with Seattle. So obviously you have all that dead money and guaranteed money that's going to be on the books now for the Broncos, but I guess with Sean Payton having the ultimate job security after the Walmart people traded all those draft picks and gave him all that money, like he's going to have the longevity there in Denver, not the quarterback that he didn't trade for and he didn't sign. So this feels like it's going to be a full on rebuild, and they decided to cut the cord now with Russell Wilson as opposed to getting stuck for another 36 million guaranteed next year or whatever it is. And honestly, if it's probably the right move because Russell Wilson's 36 years old. He's not going to get any better than he probably was this year. Like he was okay this year. He wasn't terrible, but like just being okay at like $38 million cap hit's not good enough. He's done. Yeah, he's played his last game with the Broncos. Like I don't think this is say, oh, will you take less money and stay? I think this is very much yeah, get out of town. Thanks for your service. Now please leave.
So, do you think anybody else? Do you think there's a future for Russell Wilson, or is he done? Because if he goes
Yeah,
anywhere
someone will
else,
sign him because he didn't look completely washed up this year. Like last year, he looked completely cooked. But I think, and it's funny because Sean Payton drew all this heat at the time earlier in the season when he made those comments about Nathaniel Hackett. Sean Payton was 100% right about Nathaniel Hackett. Like that was one of the worst coaching jobs in modern NFL history. And the fact that Russell Wilson was with a better coach this year, and he actually looked a little bit better for the most part, but like, the Broncos, they're just a team with a capped upside. And I mean, like I just said, like, Russell Wilson's not getting any younger. He's gonna be 37 years old next year. He's already a guy who kind of counts on his mobility to an extent. Like that's gonna obviously decline as he continues to age. And no, Russell Wilson will wind up next year like on the Falcons or something, and we'll see what happens.
so he's going to be one of the 32 starting quarterbacks opening next season, barring injury, of course. But you think on a bottom feeder team, or you think he's a starter, or do you think he has to accept the fact that he's going to be backing up somewhere?
I think someone's going to sign him to be a starter. It's not going to be high-end starter money, but I think he's the guy who's going to like a team that thinks they're a quarterback away. So Atlanta, maybe Pittsburgh. I think those are the type of teams that kind of make sense for him. You kind of wait and see how some of these other situations play out around the league, or if any offseason injuries pop up, like what happens in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins, who is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Maybe he winds up there. Like, I don't know where he winds up, but obviously the Denver experiment's at an end. One more quick note on this, and then we can get into cards. Is that the worst NFL trade in history? Because I think you can make an argument it's not even the worst NFL trade in the last like 3 years.
So I'd have to look up and see like a list of the all-time like trades and football trades. But why? What's the one you got that you would say is worse?
I mean, this Bryce Young trade to get that Bryce Young pick might be worse.
Yeah, I mean it's still early. I'd like to give a quarterback a couple of years, but I mean as of right now, as things look heading into as we record this week 17. Yeah, especially because the way CJ Stroud has had the Texans right in the thick of the playoff mix. I mean, maybe they can still win the division. I think. Right. I think if they win out and get some help, but they're in the wild card mix, and it's clear when CJ Stroud's not in the lineup, they're not as good a team. So you can see the impact he's made on them within the same season.
And like it's the picks, and then like also you gave up DJ Moore on top of it for some reason, and the Panthers' #1 receiver this year was like 34-year-old Adam Thielen, which nobody really wants aside from Adam Thielen and his immediate family. But it's just a disaster. Did you say what packs you're going to rip?
I did not. So let me throw those out there real quick, and then we can just go right into the football talk since we're doing it. So I enjoyed doing the college football so much last week. I had a few packs come in the mail of Panini Contenders 2021 Draft Picks, 18 card value pack. Look for red cracked ice. So we got those guys right there. We'll see. We'll see what we get in that pack, and then it's been a while since we've gone cup chasing. So
that's right.
Absolutely gonna hopefully get that hologram in this pack, but we shall see. But back to the NFL talk here. We're already in the midst of it anyway. Let's crack open this pack here. Now, again, what are we opening here? It looks like it is a pack of 2022 Absolute Football Panini.
Yep, with Russell Wilson on the cover. Hopefully, Russell doesn't strain anything doing squats in the aisle of the team charter flight.
I wonder if he'll have like a corny slogan like "Let's ride" at his next stop.
He'll have some sort of corny slogan because he's just a giant cornball. It's who he is. But we're going to start off with this pack with one of the very I mean this I can already tell this pack's gonna be loaded because the two first cards are a guy who should be in the MVP race this year and a guy who was in the MVP race last year. So we start with the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, Mr. Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. So yes, certainly, he had his time in the season where there were people doubting him, and it's like, no, Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. I'm not buying into that.
It's funny you mentioned that. As a Giants fan, I'm programmed to hate everything about the Philadelphia Eagles,
Of course.
from their fan base to their stadium to the EAGLES and to Go Birds to all that nonsense.
Of course.
How can you hate Jalen Hurts? Like, he
Hmm.
seems like the chillest dude. Like, he seems like the ultimate like quarterback, the ultimate leader. And like, I wasn't the biggest Jalen Hurts guy with him coming out of college. I didn't think he was going to be like this good as an NFL quarterback, but he's a guy like, I mean, he hasn't had the greatest year this year, but like he was in the MVP race last year. I would still argue he's one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the National Football League, and he's going to be a reason why they wind up contending for the Super Bowl for the next few years. He's going to be one of the main reasons why, until they ban the tush push, which is another reason I hate the Eagles.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see after the tush push. But I think it's, he does a lot more than just the tush push. I mean, yes, it sucks to lose that aspect, that one play. But yeah, speaking as a Jet fan and the history we've had of quarterbacks, and yes, I know we're going to get one good year out of Rodgers. I would take Jalen Hurts a million times out of him.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And especially like, I don't want to compare him to Rodgers because it's not really fair to either player.
Oh, that's totally different.
But obviously with Jalen Hurts, you don't have nearly the baggage and the whole look at me attitude and all that sort of stuff. So you can obviously tell these cards are a little dated. I mean, this was 2022, and a very strange look on the face here of a guy who might win the MVP this year, Christian McCaffrey.
Oh yeah, you can see it there. Now that it's focused a little bit, yeah, you see his face. It's definitely like a little shock. Yeah, like oh crap, I got 2 guys running at me.
That's a look on your face like, I can't believe Matt Rule is still coaching this team.
This is the play that he drew up. This is
like,
what I'm doing.
What is going on here?
Somebody get me to the Bay Area. I had fun at Stanford. It was a good time there. Get me back.
We go to the LA Chargers here with Mike Williams. They're very talented receiver who unfortunately can never stay healthy.
Love those anytime you get the powder blue and yellow combo. But yeah, like you said, Williams, when he's on the field, absolute fantasy stud. But how many weeks a year is he on the field for you? 8?
Yeah, he's just never healthy. It's just one of those things. So go right from that to the quarterback of the Bengals, Joe Burrow.
You're right. This is a pretty loaded pack. And yeah, when the Jake Browning had the first couple of weeks there where the Bengals were like, this can't last. And then it finally, the ride finally ended. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Cincinnati next year and Joe Burrow. But
there's been a lot of that with these fill-in quarterbacks, like from Josh Dobbs to Jake Browning, as you mentioned, to Nick Mullins. There's been a lot of those guys. You could even argue to an extent Tommy DeVito, who was finally benched for Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor's probably going to have that moment at some point, except we're running out of season, so he actually might not. But yeah,
it's all about having tape to prep. When you don't have anything to watch on a guy, like, you can only go off of limited stuff, and you need at least a few games to have enough to figure out tendencies and all this other stuff. So that's why when you go to those backups, usually have a couple of game window where they do excel, because defenses have a tough time planning for you. Because a lot of times it's not just like, okay, same quarterback's going to plug into the system that the QB1 was running. Sometimes you got to make a change to suit your backup.
One of the guys you'll be counting on this weekend in our fantasy football championship matchup, Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I need Javonte Williams, baby. Oh, that was my big move this year, because my move for Michael Thomas was complete dog shit, and I got 1 week out of him.
Oh, man.
Shout out Nick Costos, who's got my 2nd and 3rd round pick next year. I have his 5th at least.
But like, those are the type of big swing moves you have to make. Like, I trade a 2nd round pick for Kirk Cousins, who tore his Achilles 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
and then I traded another pick for Josh Dobbs, who was benched like a month later.
But I was like, I made the move with Bob to get Javonte, but there was a point where I was kicking the tires on Cortland Sutton and Jacoby Myers, which maybe I would have gotten a lot more mileage out of those guys, or one of those guys, than I did on Thomas. But we're sidetracked here. We move on.
Yeah, it's neither here nor there. Kyle Pitts from your Atlanta Falcons.
As Howard Bender says, get a real offensive mind in there, and then we might actually get to see what he's capable of.
Yeah, except I'm not so sure I'm not sure they're going to fire Arthur Smith.
I don't think so.
I would, but I don't think I'm not 100% convinced they will.
If you go into that Saints game with a chance to win the division and go to the playoffs, you can't fire him. Can't, even if they lose. I don't know if he can.
Perhaps the funniest card we've pulled so far in this pack, not because of his off-field transgressions that got him kicked out of the league for a while, but because of him being Wally Pipped in the lineup, Deshaun Watson from your Cleveland Browns, who obviously has been It's funny. They're paying him all that guaranteed money, and then they all it takes is them signing 38-year-old pre-washed Joe Flacco to potentially lead them on a playoff run here coming up.
Let me tell you something. That Browns defense, I don't want to see them in the wild card round. Do not want to see that defense. I mean, and the way if Flacco plays even 75% as well as he's playing right now, that's still a good enough offense to, pull off some upsets. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens here down the stretch, but
depending on the matchup, the Browns are going to win a playoff game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were in the AFC Championship. I'm going to say it right now.
I mean, remember that game against the Chiefs with Baker Mayfield? They almost pulled off the upset at Arrowhead. I mean, defense is better now.
If they played the Chiefs this year, they would beat the Chiefs.
Absolutely.
Especially that game probably not going to be in Arrowhead. I mean, it might be because they're probably still going to win that division, but Cleveland can definitely beat them. They can get after the quarterback. The Raiders just did that.
A lot of teams can beat the Chiefs this year.
Yep. Deontay Johnson from your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Now, we realize by the time there's playoff matchups will be set up, or some will be set up. We'll have a lot more playoff possibilities known by then. But, the Steelers, listen, if Tomlin doesn't go below if he stays above 500 again, I mean, you got to tip your hat to him. I know that's not a great achievement, but to not be below 500 ever as long as he's been coached, that's something.
Where are they at now? They're 8-7 or 7-8?
I believe 8-7 because they were the one that ended this Jake Browning's, little Cinderella run.
Right. Yep. So while you pull that up, I got Tua Tagovailoa here, winding up to complete a deep pass, hopefully to Tyreek Hill, which I'm going to need in our fantasy championship matchup. And we follow that up with the backup quarterback on my other potential fantasy championship team with Kyler Murray.
Listen, Kyler Murray has been okay down the stretch, and at least he's going to play in Arizona. The Steelers, as of the time of this recording, have a 6% chance of making the playoffs as they head into Seattle this weekend.
They're 8-7 though, right?
Yeah.
All right. And it's funny you mentioned Seattle because I looked down and we got the first of our rookie cards here, and this is a good one to pull. We got Kenneth Walker here, stud running back.
He's having a nice year up in Seattle too. I mean, listen, the Seahawks are exactly what a wild card playoff team looks like. And they could be dangerous in the right matchup.
I like how they put all the rookies in a row here, which is very nice because you go right from him to Khair Aleem, from the cornerback for the Buffalo Bills.
He's had a good year for them as well.
From your Cleveland Browns, wide receiver David Bell,
who's gotten a little more work down the stretch.
From your Washington Commanders, I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but Fedarian Mathis.
Oh, the defensive tackle. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
He was on my when I wanted to go. When you're drafting in the 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds, those are the guys you're looking at. And I remember looking at him.
One of the guys that the Seahawks got with one of those draft picks that they got from the Broncos in that failed Russell Wilson trade, Boye Mafe, the defensive end.
Seahawks love to run they love to rotate their defensive ends and their D line, and it works for them.
And it looks like we finish up here with I mean, it's just a random assortment of cards here. Not trying excuse me, not trying to say this to be like stick the knife in and twist a little bit, but we have Zach Wilson from the New York Jets, the MILF hunter himself.
It's not sticking the knife in and twisting. I think this is going to be Zach Wilson and the Jets has been like one of these like wild relationships that's had very few ups and most downs. But when they were up for those brief periods, it was up. It was very enjoyable. He actually looked like he may have played his way into being like a serviceable backup. And then that kind of, did not happen, kind of fell apart. We both sides know they're going their separate ways at the end of the year. So whatever. It was what it was. It was a 2nd overall pick, 3rd overall pick, whatever.
Yeah, 2nd overall pick, which you hate whiffing on that, but it kind of is what it is.
It's not like they did that with Darnold a few years before that or anything.
No, Darnold was a 3rd overall pick, so yeah, it's. I mean, it's just rough. I mean, I can't imagine being a Jets fan.
Thanks, pal.
Sorry. A player here who's a former Jet. I think he's a former Jet at one point. I think he might also be a former Giant. Remember James Robinson when he had that one season he was relevant in fantasy communities and now he's bounced around the league?
Yeah, he got bounced around pretty quickly after his relevance in Jacksonville.
Yep. We got a couple more rookie cards to finish up here. Malik Willis from the Tennessee Titans. Cool to get a quarterback, but I think he's probably not going to have much of a pro career.
Speaking of failed quarterbacks.
Yeah, seeing as they've already drafted another quarterback, Will Levis, since making that selection. In their introductions sub-series, a pretty good player here with Kyle Hamilton from your Baltimore Ravens.
Had a big game Christmas night. Maybe quieted the Brock Purdy MVP conversations a little bit.
And one card here to finish up, and it's a pretty funny card, seeing as this player was just back in the league with the New York Giants. Last call here on Mason Crosby.
Last call, Mason Crosby. So is that a last Packers card?
Probably one of his last Packer cards, but not his last NFL card, probably most likely, since he made it into a game for the New York Giants this year due to the litany of injuries they've had at kicker, which if the Giants were good, you'd probably hear a lot more about that, but the Giants stink, so who cares?
It's like the guy who could maybe make a difference in close games has been a revolving door for them, except they haven't been in enough close games for that to matter. So,
So that is it for our Panini Absolute Football series. So unfortunately, we didn't get Russell Wilson there, but it's about the memories we make along the way.
And we had some laughs along the way. We're going to keep the football going here. We're going with, and Panini for that matter, 2021 Panini Contenders Draft Picks, 18 card value pack. Like I said, we're looking for that red cracked ice right there. So let's get cracking. All right. So we got 18 cards to go here, and we open up the season ticket series with Michael Thomas, Ohio State wide receiver. So there we go.
Do they have another Michael Thomas who's a wide receiver there now, or is this like the Michael Thomas that was on the Saints?
No, this is the Michael Thomas that's on the Saints, and this is when he was at Ohio State. So these are like kind of like, then there's a few of these in here. They're like kind of they're college cards from like the current players kind of thing. So.
Gotcha.
So we got a nice little Michael Thomas to start the pack, even though we talked about how he did absolutely nothing for me. So I can't really say anything nice about you. Sorry, bud.
Well, I mean, who could have possibly foreseen Michael Thomas getting hurt and not playing?
I was desperate for receiver depth. I know.
Apparently that desperate. I mean, this is looking around the bar 2 minutes before last call, trying to find a girl to go home with. Desperate.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've all been there. So here we go. It's that guy knocked out along the way, Josh Allen from the Bills, in his Wyoming jersey there, looking pretty sharp.
Yeah, shout out to the quarterback of Better Bosses team, who he had a solid week this week. I have him in the other league, but unfortunately for the Better Boss, not quite enough on his roster to lift his team into the championship. But it's like we discussed off air. It wouldn't have been right if the two best teams in the league didn't meet in the championship. So
and here we are.
I feel like we're predestined to do this dance one more time.
Our blind bids go through tonight. Hopefully, I know you said you got no fab left, so I should get everybody.
None. I wasted all day to Drunken Sailor.
Chris Carson there back in his OSU days.
Yeah, remember Chris Carson when he was in the NFL.
Now here's a throwback right here. Here's a guy, Drew Brees, back in his Purdue days.
Yeah, that's definitely a throwback there. I didn't realize he wore number 15, and he looks jacked in that photo. Like
he does.
Yeah, I mean, if not jacked, he looks like fat. I mean, like it's one or the other. I don't think he's fat in that photo. I think he's just jacked.
I mean, maybe it's just the way the jersey's falling, but nonetheless, yeah, he's a lot bigger there than he looked in his play when he got to be at the Saints. 1 second.
Hello.
Yeah, she's off from school this week, so
that's all right. Just leave it in the show. It's fine.
No, it's fine. Let me write down the time. 25. Got it. Okay, here we go. Back in. Now we go on to TJ Watt from Wisconsin. So maybe we'll get both Watts in this pack, but so far so good.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of players who've made their bones obviously in the NFL as well, which is always cool. I mean, I suppose it's better than getting like players that were good in college but turn out to not be that good in the NFL. Like, I don't know that I
RG3.
really want like a Johnny, like like an RG3. I was even thinking like a Johnny Manziel type of card.
We got a nice mix here, I will say. So, and we spoke about one Chargers receiver, Mike Williams. Here's Keenan Allen back when he played at Cal Berkeley.
Yeah, I mean, Keenan Allen looks very similar to how he looked back when we played at Cal. So, yeah, very cool to see there.
Got to get bulked up, I guess, to get recruited, and then you guess got to slim down once you go pro. Speaking of a guy who's always jacked, no matter what time of season or in his career, Adrian Peterson.
To this day, maybe the strongest handshake I've ever had the pleasure of shaking hands with. In terms of like, obviously, the Handshake Hall of Fame was a big part of Corey Nano and friends, and Adrian Peterson would definitely have been a Handshake Hall of Fame candidate, and as you could imagine, very strong grip.
Well, I mean, just look at that. Oh, look at those arms.
Yeah, I mean, he's just an
that looks
absolute.
That looks like a Stan Lee cartoon. Like
that it looks like they didn't drug test at Oklahoma.
That is correct. Or he did a lot of reps. Either way,
Yeah.
could be.
It looks like Bob Stoops didn't care as long as you can go out there and give me 200 yards every Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. Do whatever you need to do to get me to get us in the Big 12 championship. And guy who played, who I think is going to be done at the end of the year, Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, shout out to Teddy Bridgewater. Very good college career, and obviously he was never really the same after that horrific leg injury and during training camp back in Minnesota. What, like 5-6 years ago now at this point? But I mean, considering how severe that leg injury was, probably a small miracle that he made it back in the first place. So, shout out to him for getting to go out on his own terms.
And he, listen, he's been a solid backup. He's a guy you like to have around. He's a good leader in the locker room. Now we do have an autograph here, and it is a New York Jet, but it is not a guy. It was a 5th round pick, I believe. Hamza Nasruddin, a safety out of Florida State. So I believe the Jets took him a couple of years ago. I think he's still with the team as like a bench guy that gets some reps, but yeah, we have an autograph here.
How about that? It's always nice when we pull an autograph on this show. So I'm not 100% sure he's still with the Jets though. Nasruddin Jets. I'm gonna look that up right now while you go to the next one.
You see if he's on the depth chart anywhere. Next in the pack here, we do have another insert. This is part of the draft class series. We got Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State.
Yeah, a guy who didn't really have much of a pro career to speak of, but pretty good collegiate player. How do I spell Nasruddin?
It's Nasrildeen. Hamza.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't find it. Yeah, he's a free agent. He's no longer with the Jets, but
we got
still very cool to get an autograph card. Can't complain there.
The kid never complain about an autograph. Always something you could throw up and maybe sell on eBay. So we got a little Baker Mayfield having a resurgence with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a really good year, and they're probably going to have to now pay like the Geno Smith contract to extend him for a few years. And, he's going to wind up having like a nice little 4 or 5 year career resurgence there in Tampa until they kind of realize that his ceiling's just kind of limited. I want to say it's like the Ryan Tannehill effect when he went to Tennessee, where obviously the Dolphins cut him, and then when he came back and he finally got a chance to play in Tennessee, Tannehill was pretty good those first 2 years, and then he just kind of plateaued and like slowly declined until the Titans were like, "Yeah, we got to upgrade at the position."
Listen, they're coming out of Brady. They needed the Kyle Trask is not the transition. Mayfield is a transitional quarterback. It's exactly what he is. He's got them in the run for a very weak division. That's it. You just need somebody to get the ball to Mike Evans, right? That's all you need. Now,
and he's very good at getting the ball to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
Exactly, and that's all you need. If you do that, you're going to be okay, and you're going to keep your job. Calvin Ridley staying in the state of Florida with the Jaguars, but here pictured with Alabama.
Calvin Ridley has been a very frustrating fantasy player to have this year. If you have him in any leagues, you know exactly what I'm talking about because he's one of these guys. he can explode and have like 7 for 120 and a touchdown any given week. And there's been a lot of weeks this year where he's put up like 2 for 30.
Yeah, and that's the problem is you don't get like that's very inconsistent. There's no like hot. It's it's totally dart throws each week with whether you're going to get the production out of him. But he's too tempting to keep on your bench, so you have to deal with it.
Right, and exactly, he's one of those, and he's frustrating obviously for that reason. Like I know generally speaking, I prefer consistency from my fantasy players. Like I
Same.
would rather know a guy is like even if his ceiling is I'm only going to go and put 5 catches for 50 yards up every week. Just knowing you get that
10
floor
points
every week.
You
Yeah,
get those 10 points, I'll take it.
Yep, exactly.
And you don't get now that a guy who actually, speaking of that, a guy who is very much in that mold for a long time, and I know because he's an original in our dynasty league, and he may not be after this year anymore. Robert Woods,
Bobby Trees, yeah, still plugging around, still the last original player from your roster and probably from any roster in that league, I would be my guess.
I gotta double check. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody else on my team besides him that's like a true original, but yeah, he is. He was part of the draft, and he was very much that guy you described. Not so much last couple of years, but in Buffalo and definitely with the Rams, he was like that. Phillip Rivers, who knows how many more kids he's got on the way because he's already got a baseball team now. So
he's going for the football team. So shout out to Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, I mean nobody plays two-way anymore, so you got to get to what 20. If you keep Phil active, you got to get to 21. Wife to play 20, but I think after 20 kids, she's not playing football.
Way to keep busy in retirement.
It's called a television. We have Devin Singletary here, pictured with Florida Atlantic.
I would not have guessed that he went to Florida Atlantic. So there you go. There, I would have guessed he went to like one of the Texas schools. But
I thought he had transferred. I thought he came out of Devin Singletary. Let's see here. College career. He was, Florida Atlantic. And then that's where he went. He was 3rd round pick, 74th overall. I thought he had transferred, but I guess not.
And if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the running backs on your team I need to fade this weekend, right?
That is correct. He is. He is not an original, but I did draft him. So he's been with me since day one, since he came into the league. I dealt with him through Buffalo, and he's paying off dividends, at least for me down the stretch here with the Texans. Speaking of good players here, Mike Reich will be happy with this one. Linebacker for the Buccaneers out of LSU, Devin White.
Yeah, Devin White's had a pretty good career. A little bit of a down year this year with him. He's just not really racking up the tackle numbers like he used to. But I'm not sure how much longer he has in terms of being like an elite, like IDP linebacker and that sort of thing. But pretty good player, pretty good career so far.
He's a guy that I would say he's not an every week starter anymore, but I'd still keep him on your bench for that random week where he is productive. 2 cards to go here in this pack before we go cup chasing. Let's finish strong here. Number 1, we go to Kansas State University in Manhattan with Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett. He's very consistent PPR player. That's the type of player that like I like in these fantasy leagues. That guy who he'll catch his 6 passes every week and get you his 70 yards. And if he finds the end zone any given week, that's a nice little bonus.
One of the guys that made Russell Wilson look good while he was in Seattle. Now, this is a guy we talked about earlier in the show and how we both like him as a quarterback, pictured here with the Oklahoma Sooners, even though some Alabama fans would like to take credit for him, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I wonder which school can really take credit for him. Because, you could say Alabama, but he did get benched in the national championship game. You could say Oklahoma, but I feel like his bigger ceiling moments were probably at Alabama. I'm not really sure.
I guess I would lean Oklahoma, but I mean, it's close. And he probably wants to be remembered as the Super Bowl winning champion quarterback, Jalen Hurts, not, the guy who is he Oklahoma or Alabama. So,
well, hopefully for him, that happens in about 7 or 8 years after the Eagles move on. And he's playing with like the Steelers or something.
And he goes to get a championship elsewhere. So there you go. That was a pretty good pack, I got to say. That's a strong 18 cards there. We did not get one of the cracked red ice ones, but we did get the autograph here. We got the Hampson Nasraldine autograph there from Florida State. Maybe I'll see if I can find him on Twitter and see if he wants it back. Now, we were through down 1 pack. We got 1 more to go here. I'm pretty sure it's time to go cup chasing. That's right. We're hunting the 1990 Pro Set 1 of 5,000 Stanley Cup hologram card on Rip N Riff. Love that theme song. And apparently my cat wants to jump in on the cup chase too. Meet Melee, everybody. So yeah, here she is. The cards.
Did you tape that video outside of Madison Square Garden, or did you find it off of the Twitter sphere?
I found that off of the Twitterverse, but I very well could have been at that one. That was back when I was still going to regular season and playoff games on a regular basis. So there we go. So we are cup chasing today. You know the deal. We're looking for that hologram card. We don't really care about anything else because this is a mass-produced set. But if we got any cool guys here, any facts, we'll do that. Certainly a good defenseman here in his day, Steve Duchesne, pictured with the Kings. Kings might go back to those jerseys next year. That's the rumor, or a more modernized version, and I hope they do.
They should, because it's a good look. And I don't think silver and black looks good for a lot of teams. I mean, the Raiders are obviously a key exception, but I think the LA Kings, it works for them as well.
There's another King in here, Brian Benning. We'll skip on to him, and you always got to throw a Whaler card up. Randy Cunnyworth at his time at the Whalers. Speaking of nice jerseys there, back in the greens. Let's see. We got Bruin, Alan Peterson, Islander, Alan Kerr. Oh, Shane Corson here with the Montreal Canadiens. Speaking of good-looking jerseys, they've got an all-timer.
Yeah, that's one of those classic looks that never goes out of style. So, and that'll probably never change as long as the Montreal Canadiens exist in some form.
That's one area that they don't need to waste any money in is a jersey redevelopment here. We got a St. Louis Blues, Mike Lawler. We got Tim Kerr from the Flyers, a good player in his day for the Broad Street Bullies there. Another classic jersey, that orange and black. Oh, here we go. Kirk McLean, the Vancouver Canucks, very good goaltender for them. In game one of the 94 Stanley Cup Finals, had 52 saves on 54 shots to steal game one from the Rangers. Very good in that playoff run for them as well. So classic Canucks look.
Surprised he didn't go into the Hall of Fame along with all the other goalies that went in the Hall of Fame this year. And that's not a Henrik Lundqvist lock because obviously he deserves it. But what's the Hall of Fame doing? Putting like Mike Vernon and Tom Barrasso and like some of these other guys in the Hall.
I'll say Mike Vernon. He's highly. There are some circles, Red Wings and Flames fans that would think he belongs there. Tom Barrasso, one of the better American-born goaltenders, and in his day was pretty good. But again, Hall of Fame is very good or Hall of Fame. So, that's where the debate comes in. We did not get any holograms in this pack, unfortunately. Here, speaking of nice jerseys, we'll skip those two. Stephen Leach. Here's the backside of the Capitals jersey. I love those pants. The stars down the pants. That's a good compliment to what the jersey looked like at the time.
Yeah, it's a nice shot of Stephen Leach's ass. I'm really glad they put that on a trading card.
I was going to say, they didn't. You mean to tell me you have a photographer that goes and photographs the game, and they have however many games a year? This guy, nobody had a better shot of Stephen Leach.
What's worse, the fact that they got the picture of him from his backside, or like the half Buffalo Sabre jersey there, where I can't tell who that is. I'm assuming that's Hasek, but that might be before Hasek's time.
So I'm trying to see. So you got one arm there and another arm there. I don't even know if that's a goalie. It looks like two players. That three makes me think Gary Galley, but I don't know. Nonetheless, they could have gone with a much better picture. Now, we do have a Sabre here, and he scored the game-winning goal of the 1996 Stanley Cup Finals for the Colorado Avalanche in triple overtime over the Florida Panthers. Uwe Krupp.
Uwe Krupp, yeah, pretty good player in his day. So that's a nice little pull to get there.
Not a guy known for his offense, but came through with a clutch goal when he needed it. Let's see here.
Those guys. You love those guys on your team. Those, you call them the glue guys, the sandpaper guys, the grit guys, whatever you want to call them.
And Melly likes to hang out in the back apparently here for this episode of Rip N Riff, so that's fine. We got Kevin Hatcher, all-star here, of course. One of his brother Darian Hatcher of the Stars too. Had Kevin on the Capitals. The good little American duo there on the blue line, and then finally.
I haven't paid any attention to Kevin Hatcher because all I'm thinking about right now is how I want to scratch your cat's chin, like right underneath.
Got that? Yeah, she's got that white spot there. She's got that calico look. And then we close with Ray Bourque, Hall of Fame defenseman. Finally got his cup in Colorado after Boston dealt him there at the trade deadline back in 2001. So, one of the best defensemen of all time, right there, wearing 77.
Yeah, thanks, Boston. Really appreciate that. So no cup chase again this time, unfortunately.
Yeah,
No hologram.
no hologram.
How many more of those packs do you have? You got a ton of them, right?
I got a bunch, so there's still a good chance. I've only opened up one pack not on this show, and that did not have a hologram. Otherwise, you would have heard about it. So
All right, fair enough. All right, you ready to see what the mystery slab is this
I
week?
sure am. That's why I do the show.
Well, we were running out of mystery slabs. I think I have like 5 more left. So hopefully we get one of the desirable ones that we're looking for soon. All right.
Is it
All
Sam
right, I
Donald?
laugh because this player has already been mentioned on the show. I also laugh because it's not a particularly desirable card to get. So this
Here
will
we
be
go.
very funny. A 2021 Panini Select Mint 9 silver die cut Kyle Trask rookie card.
When you said a guy that was mentioned on this show, that was not the guy I was thinking of. So what is that? A 21?
2021 Panini Select Kyle Trask silver die cut Mint 9 Kyle Trask rookie card.
Rookie. Let's see what comes up here. Yeah, you got about your money's worth, give or take there.
I mean, I'm going to need Kyle Trask to eventually leave there and hopefully land in a spot where whoever the starter is gets hurt and he actually can go out on the field and show he can actually, show he can actually do something in an NFL game. The fact he couldn't beat out Baker Mayfield for that starting job kind of indicates to me, with Baker Mayfield stocks about as low as they can get, that Kyle Trask probably isn't going to have a long NFL career aside from holding a clipboard. But, you never know.
I've got your ideal Kyle Trask situation here for that card. All right. So,
He goes
like I
to the
said,
Broncos.
no, I'm talking even right now. This is what I think needs to happen where you need to flip that card real quick. Okay. So, like I said, we're recording this, it airs the day before week 18 games. Tampa wins the division. They get that 4 spot. They get Dallas in the first round. Baker goes down early in the game. Kyle Trask comes in, rallies the Buccaneers to beat the Dallas Cowboys. That is when you put that card on eBay, is the second that game goes final. That is your best case
I
scenario.
wouldn't even say that. I would say if they win the division this week, I don't know if they can. If he plays week 18, remember when Matt Flynn threw like 6 touchdown passes for the Packers?
Yeah. And everybody
in
was
the
like, oh,
final
Matt
week of the
Flynn, Matt
season,
Flynn.
and he parlayed that into that big free agent contract with the Seahawks. So he never really got a shot with Seattle because it was the same year they drafted Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson just beat him out for the job. But I need a situation like that where like Kyle Trask, like out of nowhere, Kyle Trask just shows up and balls out and throws like 4 touchdown passes. Basically, I need like Mike Evans to carry him, which is going to be tough in that particular scenario because if they're sitting Baker Mayfield, they're probably going to sit like their other good players too. So this is going to be one where like Trey Palmer's really going to need to step up for the Bucks and like Kate Otten and those
I don't know
guys.
if they can be in a scenario where they can sit guys next week because
There might not be.
So they're playing the Saints this week, the week we record. So let's say they beat the Saints and the Falcons. You have to say the Falcons win in order to keep the scenario here. So I think they would still need to play and win next week against Carolina because if they lost to Carolina and the Falcons beat the Saints, maybe Atlanta would leapfrog them, I think, depending upon what the Falcons do with the Bears this week. So we'll see what happens there. But nonetheless, that's what you need for Kyle Trask.
Yeah, it sounds like all I need is a miracle. So there we go.
Just
nice
one miracle. That's all you need.
Yeah, nice little. I'm not going to waste my miracle on Kyle Trask. I'm sorry.
No. Not on a mystery slab Kyle Trask card. No. Now I need to be honest with you here. I got to show what my desk looks like right now because I have not cleaned out the cards since we ripped with Dave. You can see it right there. So yeah, I need to. You can even see some of today's cards in there. That's at the top of the screen there. So nonetheless, I need to get on that this weekend. So now it's time for a starting lineup unboxing before we wrap things up here on R&R.
Oh yes, now I get to guess which player this might be. So
it's figure 5. You get 5 questions. I tell you the sport, and the rest is on you to figure out and guess. So we didn't chase for the cup. Our cup chase for the cup was unsuccessful, but we're gonna keep it on the rink here. We're gonna go hockey.
All right, we're gonna go hockey. All right, so is the player in this starting lineup figure depicted representing an Eastern Conference team.
He is not pictured representing an Eastern Conference team.
All right, so it's Western Conference. Has this player won a Stanley Cup?
He has won a Stanley Cup. He has won.
He has one, which is one more than a lot of people have, but he has one. All right. Did he win the Stanley Cup with the team that he's predicted in the starting lineup?
No, the team he won with. So the team he's depicted in is the team he played. One of the teams he played with before he won the cup.
Okay. All right. So that's interesting. So that you would think that doesn't narrow the field down a bit, but it actually kind of does. So, all right, 2 more questions here. So we got to make them good. Is this player in the Hockey Hall of Fame?
Yes, and don't think anybody would say he does not belong. He is a bona fide Hall of Famer.
All right, so Hockey Hall of Famer, Stanley Cup champion, who presumably won his cup in the Eastern Conference somewhere after playing in the Western Conference.
Presumably. You got 2 more.
I got 2 more. I got 2 more. There's we should be asking yes or no questions. I shouldn't be trying to narrow.
That's why I'm trying to give you enough answers, enough information without painting too much of a picture.
Right.
I got 2 questions.
All right, 2 questions. Is this player a forward?
He is indeed a forward. I'll even tell you a wing. He is a wing. He's not a guy that sometimes plays center wing. He's a wing.
Did this player ever play for the New Jersey Devils?
He never played for the Devils. In fact, his entire career was spent in the Western Conference, so I will give you that.
But he won his cup in the East.
I didn't say win his cup in the East. You presumably said that. I said he did not win the cup with the team he's depicted with. So he got his cup in the West, and I'll give you and he played for 4 teams. You'll remember him from 2 of those teams for sure, maybe 3. You probably forgot about the 4th.
Got it. All right, so if he won his cup in the West, then he probably played for LA, Colorado, Detroit, maybe Dallas. Played primarily in the West.
He won his cup 13 years after the starting lineup he is depicted in.
13 years after. Is it Brett Hull?
So that's a good guess, guy that won in the West because Detroit was in the West then, spent his time in the West, also won with Dallas in the West, also played with St. Louis in the West. But the guy you were trying to get is Mr. Teemu Selanne.
Yes. I figured I should have known Selanne was coming at some point because I know you've mentioned that you've had one before.
I've been dying to open this one.
You've been dying to open that one, and obviously he won his cup with the Mighty Ducks.
So yeah, he's Winnipeg. Then he went to Anaheim for a good amount of time, 95 through 2000. Then he went to the Sharks for a few years. Had a season in Colorado, then came back to the Ducks.
Yeah,
that's when he got his cup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel bad about not getting that one. Right church, wrong pew.
Yeah, listen, you got the winger, you got a bona fide Hall of Famer. See, if I were you with hockey players, one of my questions has to be what country is he from, because that helps you. Like if it's Canada, it doesn't help you, but if it's Sweden or Finland, now you might be cooking with something.
You say that, but now you're going to throw all Canadian players up there the next time we do this, and that's going to be a wasted question.
Only for hockey, though. The other sports, it doesn't really make sense. Maybe baseball to a degree. But
I was originally leading Dave Andrechuk with that guess.
Okay, that's a way.
But that was me thinking he won his cup in the East, and obviously he won his with the Lightning in 04.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they have a starting lineup of him, but he would be worthy of one if he didn't. Now, here's the Solani picture card here, which is a complete replica of what the Score look of that same year was. Score had that look, I think, across all four of their sports there. But there he's happy to be celebrating a goal, it looks like, maybe, in that classic Jets look. And here he is representing that Jets look there. And they did a good job with the detail. There he is streaking down the wing. And this is back when he wore 13. He wore 8 and 13 in his career. But at this point, he had wore 13. So there you go. Good looking. This is a good looking one. Nice shades of blue and red.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I would like it a lot more if I had guessed it right, but what are you going to do?
What are you going to do now? He is going to, I almost got a Winnipeg Jets jersey from this era, but I ended up going with an Oilers jersey instead. I don't regret my decision, but I kind of do. But nonetheless, Teemu Selanne is going to be joining our starting lineup studio audience next week. And we had to catch up from the last 2 weeks. So there you see Scott Brocious, who we opened up 2 weeks ago, and Warren Moon, who we opened up last week, the 93 edition of Warren Moon. And to his left, you got Buck Williams there from the 88 Nets line with that classic Nets look. Then you got Irvin Magic Johnson also from the 88 line with the yellow classic Lakers look. And then the only Columbus Blue Jackets starting lineup ever produced, Ron Tugnut in 2001 with the all-star patch there on the jersey. Probably one of the only meaningful hockey games to ever happen in Columbus.
And probably a little bit of regret that they picked him and not Rick Nash.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I guess you got to, because who knows what the rules were about everybody has to be represented, but if you were maxed out at certain positions, I mean, you know, the NHL All-Star format changes like every 10 years.
I was referring to the starting lineup. I don't give a shit about the All-Star game. But yeah, I guess you could say the same thing for the All-Star game. And Rick Nash, what year was he a rookie?
I think he was just after they stopped making him. I think at that point, McFarland. So there's probably McFarland's of him in the Rick Nash jersey, but no starting lineups.
Got it. Yeah, because I was going to say, I think 01 was the Kovalchuk year when he went number 1. I think Rick Nash was the following year, if I remember right.
2001 NHL draft. Let's see here. That was in Florida. That was the year Kovalchuk went first overall. That's correct. Back with the Thrashers. 2002. Let's see here. Yeah, the number 1 overall pick was Rick Nash. There you go.
There we go.
Jay Bouwmeester, number 2 in that draft.
Yeah, shout out to him. Had a lengthy career, and I think he was on that St. Louis Blues team that won the Stanley Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
Believe so. And 3rd overall, the inventor of the Pink Whitney, Mr. Ryan Whitney himself. So strong top 3.
Strong top 2.
Strong 3 if you factor in the booze world. Joffrey Lupul 4, Scotty Upshall 5. That rounds that out. Not a great draft class there. And it doesn't get much better after that. It was not the 03 draft class, that's for sure. But nonetheless, we'll have another starting lineup unboxing for you next week. Maybe Jared will hit the nail on the head on that one. Some weeks he gets it real quickly, and some weeks, hey, we right church, wrong pew. It happens. But for this edition of R&R, for the first one of 2024, we're going to bid you adieu. But we're going to be back next Saturday. That's what the NFL wild card round will be back for you. It's going to be exciting. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. 6 games, arguably the best weekend of the playoffs. R&R will have another episode for you. But for Mr. Jared Moore over there on Twitter, at Mr. Jared Moore, I'm at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. We're back with you next Saturday with R&R on BSN and the Fantasy Alarm YouTube pages.